FINKE, There and Back, is a kind of adventure documentary that follows the FINKE Desert Race in Central Australia, an off-road multi-terrain 2-day duel for bikes, cars, buggies and quads through desert country from Alice Springs to the dry bed of the FINKE River. Though this film from director and producer Dylan River concentrates on the daredevil dirt bike riders and their extraordinary machines, the race for most involved is, as one says, all about the bikes. It's held each year on the Queen's birthday long weekend in June and takes place along a thin sandy track that stretches 230 kilometres from Alice Springs, and each year over 600 riders tackle the terrain in a quest to simply make it there and back. And you have to be just a bit crazy to take it on, as the race is the largest off-road motorsport event in the Southern Hemisphere, and Australia's fastest, deadliest, toughest and certainly dustiest race. And for many, in the words of narrator Eric Banner, an incomprehensible addiction. And River's film not only follows some of the leading riders, but gives us the involvement of their families, support workers, organisers, police and paramedics as they participate in one of the most difficult off-road courses in one of the most remote places in the world. There are a lot of characters to get to know in the 45 minutes that precede the race itself, but two stand out. Paraplegic Isaac Elliott is attempting to complete the race that he started a decade earlier, driven by what locals call FINKE fever. He competes by modifying a two-wheeled motorcycle to be able to ride the event, installing a custom-made seat and a protective cage, and rides accompanied by two supporters riding shotgun. And there's Scruff Hamill, who lives in a shed full of bikes in Sydney, making his first attempt to tick off a bucket list event. Scruff rides old bikes. But the main contenders are a couple of Alice Springs locals who have spent 6 months on the bikes, testing, training and preparing for the most important weekend of their year. It's quite an achievement from Dylan River, who had to wrangle 20 cameramen and women on the ground and 3 helicopters in the air on the weekend of the race, left when it was over with close to 300 hours of footage and 6 months of editing. The result at times resembles a raucous combination of Mad Max and Wake and Fright, and you can almost feel the red dust in your throat and the petrol fumes in your nose.
Great. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really interesting because this is an iconic event, you know, in Australia. This sort of like, it's crazy, you know, people get badly hurt every year. They've had deaths in this race.
Yes.
You know, he reads out at the beginning to the president of the FINKE Motor Race Club, tells everybody, you know, you get your possibility of being hurt and dying in this race. So it is a sort of madness to want to go in it because it's really rough with those woofy things that you have to ride over, bounce over, really.
That's right. It's an old train track at times. It's the old gun train track that they traverse constantly, you know, old ridges all through it, and it's as rough as anything.
Well, you see, I think that I would have preferred to get deeper into some of the characters. I think he tries to encompass too many. I'm really not a fan of that sort of voiceover in a documentary. It is repetitive and really, on occasions, banal. But Dylan is sort of like such a talent. He is the son of Warwick Thornton, the director. He's a cinematographer, and Warwick says that all the really beautiful stuff in Sweet Country was shot by Dylan. You know, he's got a couple of really good short films to his credit. He's obviously a talent, you know, coming through.
Yes.
I just think he's a better cinematographer and potential director than he is a writer.
Yeah, that's all true. But nonetheless, I still love the kind of off-race moments, the Wake and Fright moments. My favourite is where the blokes are all a bit pissed by the stage at the party's already started on the side there, and they get a chainsaw out to cut up the steaks. Mate, I'll cut them up for you. I thought that Wake and Fright element was fantastic.
But you see, it would have been great to have had a little bit more than that. I found that a little bit chaotic, to tell you the truth. But you look, you know, I mean, it sort of gives insight into this iconic event, and I'm glad to have had it. I think it is, a place where tragedy happens, and in fact, there's a very tragic coda at the end of the film. So, look, I'd give it 3.5 stars.
Yes, I'll give it 3.5 as well.
The race is an incomprehensible addiction.
Half the battle is just
beating the desert.
It's escapism in its purest form.
The atmosphere is just beautiful out here. God's country. It's like nowhere else.